all the time. And we're back, making me apparently doing the dailies from November 25th with my the perfect. The title of this one was Buy or Sell Moment, and I have a sneak. We just read it today, and I have a sneaking suspicion that half of Louisa's commentary is going to be around Wicked. Yeah, it's because there was all kinds of, just like last time, article components in this one about how Wicked did at the box office. So I'm just going to preemptively, before I talk about any of this stuff, I was interested. Go to it. So I don't act like you don't love that equipment.
Where would you like me to start?
I want you to start with what? It's something in the dailies that tipped you off. That you're like, oh, that is.
Well, first of all, I couldn't wait for this dailies to come out because I knew that it was going to talk about the weekend box office. Oh, really?
Yeah.
With regards to, Wicked and Gladiator II, who cares? And,
but it's still going
Moana and things like that.
Yeah, I guess.
But yes, I absolutely love Wicked. It's like one of my top 3 musicals.
Robert Zemeckis directed this.
I have to be.
You stop looking out.
No,
the
I
window
can't help it. I have to be honest. I remember when they said they were going to make a movie, and I've been waiting for that for a long, long time. But I wondered about what the details were going to be, and then more specifics came out about it, and I was like, I don't know how I feel about this movie. I really love the show.
What do you mean?
And I'm not sure. Like, I hope they don't ruin this movie or
But what made you think the screenplay? Question whether or not it was going to be bad. And offered to direct, but 20th Century Fox
just making a movie about it in general.
Oh, okay.
I wasn't sure.
Last 2 films.
But I wasn't thinking about
Stop looking out the window.
I can't help it. I wasn't thinking about the other times that.
You're making me look out the window.
I wasn't thinking about the other times that things like this that Broadway shows had been made into movies, and I was telling some other people who were fans, and they were like, this movie is supposed to be really good, it's getting really good. And this was like before it came out, but they were just like, what people were talking about saying. Anyway, not that super relates to the dailies or to our discussion, but what I thought was really interesting
Forrest Gump, they're not always
was or has been all of the merchandise,
the marketing around it,
that everyone that everyone has gotten. My word, I'm sorry.
It's not
but everyone.
What's her name?
Every company, name, brand, anybody.
Didn't it say there was over 1,000
companies
companies that are using this movie? They were saying that a number of consumers have put posts up just saying we're experiencing marketing fatigue from this movie.
Oh, that I didn't see.
And they're really pushing, apparently, they're using it to push luxury brands, which hasn't really been, I've never heard of that before, using a movie to push a luxury brand. Maybe shoes and
Kathleen Turner.
I remember with The Saint with Val Kilmer,
kind of lives in the mail from murder.
They kind of introduced the Volvo C70 because that was in that movie, and they made, if I'm not mistaken, they had a commercial
right now.
They put
as soon as possible.
Yeah, or
I'm in trouble. A commercial for the car. So there were scenes that had that
down there to deliver this map.
There were action scenes with the car over it, and I remember Volvo got a real spike after that movie came out. But this is so many years later. There's the movie is just it's kind of like the spoke of the marketing wheel.
It's so incredibly amazing to me, and at the same time
an accident. No one's really hurt.
Completely and totally insane.
They just commercialize. It's not even really a
rob her.
There used to be. They used to make a movie. Back in the 70s or the 80s, a movie could come out that wasn't tied to any property. It's just somebody.
You got to admit,
made a movie.
They made a movie. They had a story, and it would surprise people and then do really, really well.
Without the shotgun,
but you didn't.
Worded this guy.
You didn't upfront utilize it to move product. Now the movie is attached to all these things. It's merchandise around all these things. And I'm sure it's great for business, but as a consumer of movies,
He doesn't offer.
And I'm not saying that because I know you love Wicked.
No,
And
I
it's
understand.
a
I know.
thing, but like,
I saw that. I couldn't believe that.
And
I thought, and
without giving
honestly,
away
to
too much
comment
of the story, it's
on
just
what
kind of
you
an
just said,
adventure as to how they
because, like, for example,
try to
my
traverse the
Facebook knows that
jungle,
I'm a big fan of Wicked
develop
and
a
have been for a very
friend-giving
long
up the
time.
map
So
and
everybody's
use that as leverage to
merchandise
get
under the
the
sun has
sister
been
back.
appearing on my Facebook
I
feed.
love this movie just
And
because I
I've
liked,
looked through a
I
lot
think,
of it,
above
and a
any
lot
other
of
kind
it
movie, I
doesn't
like a
even
good
speak to
adventure
me.
story.
Like,
And this was
there's
like,
nothing
top
that
to bottom, like,
I see that I
especially for
want or
me,
that I would
because
desire
love
to
it,
have.
but,
I mean,
and I didn't want to leave.
But
you
it's
too much
almost
down
like a
this, but I
digital
wanted you to see
shotgun
it because I
approach,
thought it was-
using the
wasn't
actual
like-
ammunition as the movie.
It's-
And all the
I
marketing
didn't
is.
think it was gonna be
believe.
too
I mean,
hard for you.
everybody who's anybody. Not
You
anybody, I
know,
shouldn't say
it
that.
was a
Everybody has
pretty
gotten
comfortable storyline. It had a
a
lot
board
of comedy
on whatever.
elements in it.
Everybody has Wicked everything. Everybody.
Doing it
I mean,
Yeah, it
it,
was
can be expensive, it can be middle, it can be low end. Like, everybody has it everywhere. And it's just crazy to me.
It's so funny because a movie is just so.
How did you feel about
It's like a moment in time, Even if it's a great movie and you enjoy it,
I
I'm
thought
not
that they were
rocking
very
like
good. They
Back to
had
the
very good
Future
chemistry.
jackets right now.
I like them in Romance and
Or I had like there
War
was
of
a
the
Dick
Roses
Tracy
better.
T-shirt
but I like
that they sold
yeah.
when the Warren Beatty
And I like-
and Madonna movie came out.
Because I didn't see War of the Roses so much.
Got
later.
into the movie for free, which is basically meant you
overall,
spent $20 for
I
a
liked
movie
War of
ticket
the
back in
Roses
the
better.
90s,
But I
which was
also
pretty
a lot,
ingenious.
like
But
the
like, I wouldn't wear that
better in
T-shirt
movie.
now.
I don't know. I just did.
Oh.
I mean, of course, it's
I mean,
like
this one was
30
good.
some,
Well, you like
But-
more of
40 years old,
relationship
but
analysis
I
movies.
do.
or no,
Yeah.
30 some years old, but
And
like
I don't know.
And this wasn't so
like the
much
movie
that,
is just a
this was more of an
moment.
adventure.
inside in their
you know?
house, and this was like
and to have
out
any
in the jungle.
product like
And it was, like,
branded with the movie
Action
just
packed
seems
from
like
minute
it
one
would.
all the way through. Like there was never. I don't think in this
There was
case,
never,
I don't
like,
think
a
it took away from the
low-key
movie at
moment,
all.
which is fine.
I think it
I'm not saying it's not.
promoted
I
it
just-
even more. And I don't
it
really
was a
think
lot.
that this movie, again, they're not
was
against
very
good,
good,
but
but
it's nice that it had it. And I think it's
Did you
like
get the like
catapulted
when
it to like a
there's
whole
scene
new
where
level.
they're in the,
But I don't
downed
think that.
airplane that was carrying drugs out of
I think it would
Colombia,
have done
and just their
quote fine without all of this other stuff. I mean,
Nobody wants
like
to do
the snake
fine in
bit.
Hollywood.
that's why I'm using quotes because
Yeah.
it's not
anything
like
having
yeah,
to
no,
do with
nobody
snakes, that
wants
was
to do
really
fine. But
awful.
Oh my god!
I mean,
it came out of your. That's the funny. The
it's
first
just
time I
it's
saw
very
it, that, like,
it's very interesting. A
remember
different
thinking, like,
topic.
how did
The movie
he-
itself,
'cause that was. I wonder close to me.
very
Yeah.
good, very very good. Just like
Like there was no glass barrier up or anything.
wasn't.
I
Just,
wouldn't be
like,
surprised.
This is
right
your
up
moment.
alongside
they didn't do a
her.
very good job.
I thought she
It
was,
was
very
it
brave
was
for
so
a lot of
it was so
that
good.
movie, and I can't
It's like-
remember. I mean, maybe
You
Why
gotta
are you
give us-
laughing at
you
me?
gotta
There was
give us more
something. I
than
gotta
that.
give you more than that.
Oh,
Well, I'm
like over
coming.
that.
That's
Okay,
that's
all
my
right.
that's my starting point.
All
Like
right.
she.
But
Kathleen Turner,
I've also,
wow,
in
like-
addition to looked at a lot of the merchandise surrounding this movie, I've also watched a lot of like
I don't know.
videos
I think
and read a
like
lot of
that
information
stuff, it's-
before the movie. And then
I think when you become
having
an
seen
actor,
it, it's like you feel like, am I reading more?
I
Am
think
I
for the
reading
most
less? Like
part,
I
you
just
might
couldn't
think you're gonna
stop
be doing a
when I
lot
got
more
home.
stuff
Like
on stage, but
articles
when you
would
get to
come
an
up
actual
like
film,
after article after article
you
about
watched a
the making
thing
of this
a
movie and all these
reuniting
things
video
and
about the two
this
of them, 'cause
movie.
they- We
did,
And
like,
one of the
many
things that
decades
I
later.
thought was really
Yeah.
interesting is in all of
And
my
they had
like
said, like I didn't I don't
readings
think
before
that,
and after,
Michael
no one ever
Douglas,
talks
like,
about
he
it. At
was
least
just
I
gonna
didn't come
produce
across
this,
it.
and they couldn't
Get
find
sent
the
to
right
me, but
lead for it, and then one of
about the sets and the
co-producers said, "You
costumes
should
in
be
this
in it."
movie. They are
was like,
so.
"All
I would
right,
go to see the
I-
movie
all
again
right,
just
sure,
for the
if
sets and the
you think I can
costumes.
pull
They're
it off,
so
then they tried out a
well
number
done.
of
They're
actresses, and
so
nobody was
amazing. I mean, they built
really
everything for the set.
Intricate.
jealous.
Sure, yeah.
You know, and
Am I having trouble with my words as usual?
Well, hey.
how they found each other. Like someone
What's
referred her
the girl who plays the
into it,
Wicked Witch of
wasn't
the
it? Like-
East? What's her name?
like one of
'Cause
her
I don't know any of this stuff.
Is that the
ladies and
good one or
gentlemen.
the bad one?
The bad
But
one. Wicked
that
Witch
kinda
of the.
does ring
Come
a
on.
bell.
You don't
Like
know
maybe
which
you
one?
know what? Both have wicked witches.
Like
I
just
I
his
kind of
roommate or something at the time.
Not Galinda.
suggested that
Galinda's
maybe we should go
Ariana
read for
Grande.
this
Who's
part.
the other one?
Cynthia Erivo.
Okay.
What I love about these stories
I'm
is
wondering
it's- Hollywood takes place
if there's going to be any kind of parallel between them and Judy Garland.
Apart now, but
About how
like
Garland did a lot of
prior
movies,
to
but like she had this
the 2020s.
troubled, like
Everything was
storied,
pretty much there.
troubled
And
Hollywood
you
life.
hear these stories
And
of
I'm
Hollywood
curious
about how
if there's
somebody
going to
just
be
happened
any
be at the
kind
right
of
place at the right time, or at a
parallel
party,
to
or their friends said,
these
"Hey, you should go talk to this
women's
guy about this
stories like 100 years
opportunity."
later.
And the next thing you know, they're in a movie.
'Cause Wizard of
and
Oz
they're
was in
house
30s.
and it's a big movie that people talk about
Cast
for years.
of
39.
Wizard of Oz.
Which is
It was in 39.
think
like in
so.
my own life. You see that,
Everybody
just like not
in that movie got
I haven't
injured
gotten
by
to be
that
in the
movie.
or anything, but
Like the guy who played the
That's
Tin
how
Man,
life
they
plays
used
out.
aluminum
You know,
dust
just
on him.
always-
Oh, yeah,
and
I know all this stuff.
Yeah, and it made
Or
him. It gave him
go
all
down
kinds of
and talk to
respiratory
someone.
issues.
Like just
And
Changes,
the guy who
like
played,
right, like
yeah,
at that
I don't know if it
moment.
was Cowardly
And
Lion or the
I don't think
the
that when they were
Scarecrow.
making
They
this,
used
or when
rubber
did this.
adhesive on his face and like stretched out his skin,
when
like
they-
tore his
but
skin.
I think that's just such a
And
great
the
takeaway. That
the Wicked Witch of the East.
your life can go in all kinds
The
of different directions,
green
and you have to be
makeup
open to saying yes.
Had a bunch of copper in it.
First, I believe it
You
was
might
the
not-
first person who was the
say yes
Judy
to
Garland went
things
nuts.
that they
the
weren't
wicked
that they wouldn't
witch with the
that they
green
didn't
makeup
think
on.
that
I
they
think
would
she,
ever
her
say yes
skin,
to because
something something
yes
really
gets
bad
you more
happened to
yeses.
her. I think she got like
Does that make
poisoned or
sense?
this
Yeah.
had
You know,
a bad
like,
lack of words.
I mean,
bad
I know in
reaction
the
to the
beginning-
makeup, and so
beginning,
she couldn't
like a lot of
continue
actresses,
on with the role.
Hollywood
and
big
then maybe they
movies
cast
or
somebody
not,
else. I'm sure I'm getting some
you know,
details
get a lot
wrong.
of
no's.
But I know it was
Did they
like
use the same
That's what
makeup
they-
on
people
this
say
girl?
about Hollywood
I'm assuming
is
they
that
use
it's just
different,
a
but
language.
she when she
And
I know that.
It's not just
thanks when
trying to
she
get into a movie. It's like
when the
you
Wicked
do
Witch
get
like you
offered
know
things, not
what do
to-
you call it,
not to say that
disappears
you
like
have
in
to say
a
yes to everything.
like thing of
She get
smoke.
hit with
Maybe
water
if
and
it's a little
melts.
outside
And
of
yeah.
Yeah,
comfort
but like
zone.
one of the
Yep.
times when she's on the
That's
yellow brick
exactly what I'm
road
thinking.
and
Yep.
she like you know like a
Like,
trap door or something
you give this
opens up
world,
from
this
underneath
person,
her,
you
and
like
I don't
this
know there was some
person,
fire catching
they think you'd be
involved,
good
and
for the part.
she
or,
like
you
I
know,
think suffered burns
Oh, I
from.
heard about this.
For this guy for a
And,
week.
and
If you don't
I
like
think
it,
the
you can
makeup
always
made it
leave.
worse. But yeah, like
Oh,
it was
yeah,
just
like
like
it
there
was
was she couldn't go
flammable,
anywhere or
or,
do anything. There wasn't
Just
anywhere.
try this
There was
exercise
no.
or try who are-
There was no safety like things in place or whatever that.
I don't know why.
Oh
this
yeah,
is-
there was nothing to like
Write it down.
kind of safety protocols or
Like
first
somebody
aid.
getting caught or catching on fire.
Yeah,
like,
there's,
oh well,
like
what
there's
will we
union
do?
reps at all these big shoots now who are like, you can't set them on fire with without flame retardant like stuff and the gels to keep their skin from it. You have to go through all these checks and balances to ensure the safety because all the actors are insured
Oh, you
like
didn't
for the
see in
most
the movie
part.
theater ever. You watched that
If you're on a
TV.
big Hollywood shoot, you know,
But
the production has to be insured and the
that was the thing
principals
about
have to be
HBO,
insured.
when a presentation
And
would
you
come
can't
on.
just go, oh, we're going to put toxic crap all over your face. And I mean, back in '39,
Watch a movie
toxic
on
what?
TV
What are you talking about?
Yeah.
You didn't know that.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah,
those
this is going to
details,
cause
yeah.
cancer.
We're
Yeah,
gonna lay it
that's-
on them real thick
Yeah, but
because you got to be green
you got yeah.
from head to toe.
Yeah, we'll just use some of that lead-based paint.
Even like summer at night, it was perfect.
Hurts just to even think about it.
Like,
But anyway,
I
yeah.
remember
141 million? No, 114. 114 million domestic.
Especially
164.2 global
like preteen.
with a debut, highest
Yeah, it was a
grossing
little
domestic
bit violent,
opening
but-
day ever for a
And that was the
musical.
weekend
Young boys
before
wanna see some kind of
Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
So now it's been the holiday weekend, and so
Now's the big time
and
for
back
people to go to it.
Again, like something
So
you might not
Gladiator
usually have
II
said
got
yes to,
kind
but
of-
saying
theirs
yes
is
to
for
making this
performance
movie. and I
goes,
don't
it's
think
kind of a
that they
stinker.
probably
55.5
Columbia.
domestic,
But
221
wherever they
million
filmed it,
global,
I mean,
which doesn't sound bad,
it was
but I don't know
all
what they spent on marketing.
jungle all outside.
Highest R-rated
all-
November opening
it
ever.
wasn't like they
Solid
were
B
ever,
cinema score. Strong male turnout.
You know,
61% with balanced age demos. 49% 18 to
I don't think
34.
inside,
48%.
like, you know,
35
a
plus.
room or a building, house.
Read
or
one
any
about
period of
that
time.
Just
that
looking at
Christmas
the
movie.
production on this, 'cause this is
Yes.
a lot of
Oh,
stuff
I
I
had-
did
Polar
not
Bear.
know.
no interest in seeing that, so
Diane
who cares
Thomas,
what's going on with that?
um,
Bonhoeffer,
this
pastor,
fabulous
spy,
production.
assassin. I have not even
She
heard
was
of
a
this,
Nope.
waitress in Malibu.
but it almost seems
Oh,
like it
wow.
would be
She
a.
just went from a waitress till she had a major picture produced.
Do you remember we
Ended up
watched
being her
that
only
clip
screenplay.
from Monty
Mhm.
Python,
She
The
died in a
Bishop?
car crash a
That
year after- a year and a
it was
half
like a
after the
spoof.
films
It was an
were-
actual bishop roaming
Oh, that's
around
so
Rome,
sad.
but he was
Yeah,
like
it's-
solving
That's terrible.
crimes.
I know. And you
Yeah,
know
it sounds
what?
vaguely
It
familiar.
sounds like that's
yeah.
what this would
Nile
be.
was part part 2 of this.
5.1 million domestic opening from 1,900 theaters.
I mean, it was still.
I've never even heard of this.
But like,
Best
Kind of
Chris-
looks like a movie that I don't need to hear about.
I want to see a little bit more about that.
That's
My
really sad.
Heretic
Tragic.
movie, 2.2
Him
million
being originally
domestic.
considered
It's
as
really down
just said, but,
55%. That one's on its way up.
is this movie. I've never
I'm
heard
not.
of this movie, and then all of a sudden it
I really
shows
like-
up,
All right,
and it's
well,
like people love this movie. I'm like, what is this movie?
Old at that point.
Okay, moving
And I
on.
think
No,
a bit
it's
like
3.5
too
million
much in,
domestic,
like,
but it's down 33%,
sense of,
which is not good for a movie that's in between Thanksgiving and Christmas.
I don't know. I don't know how to explain it.
25.5 domestic total, decent hold for Lionsgate holiday
I know
offering.
he was producing this film
Well, yeah,
too,
but I mean, down 33% between
young Michael Douglas
Thanksgiving
anything
and
in my
Christmas.
life,
You would
so
think this
I don't
would
really
be
have anything to
it'd be
compare
on
to or go
an
off of,
ascent.
but I really liked seeing him.
You would
in
hope,
this
I guess.
I don't know, when he was young, playing this
and
different
some of the
kind
other
of
ones,
person.
oh,
Because
like
to me,
some of these
he's
movies
like
I hadn't heard about, Wild Robot and Smile too.
an older, I saw the Wild Robot person.
What was that?
who
He is
felt
now.
a robot. Oh yeah, but and he gets
Like,
lost, separated from his mom.
I don't see him as
and
young
He grows up among like
because
forest animals.
I just don't.
You're
don't-
younger than me,
Was it-
so
We didn't see
Probably
clips of this on
there haven't
Instagram with
been-
him just walking around. It's like a
Actually, yeah, I think we did.
He's a TV and he has like faces on the TV, like
there's a lot
smiles.
of there's so
and
many actors that
maybe
have,
not. That might have been just some kind
they
of
have a
animated
number
thing,
of
like he'd see a star fall,
big
a
screen
shooting star, and
Credit.
a smile would appear on the
they
TV
move into
screen.
either
That sounds
direct-to-video
familiar
or
too, but this
smaller
isn't Wild Robot, and I don't think it's Wally either, right?
releases,
No.
This is recent.
and you just don't like.
Totally different movie.
I know him for this. Wall Street,
see.
Wall Street Part 2.
what
but
else?
Wall Street Part
So
2
there's
is
a-
Oh, you were
much
saying
later.
A Real Pain. I saw A Real Pain. Yes.
Yeah, and your thoughts?
I
Honestly,
liked
I'd
it.
be
It was
surprised.
a
I'd
movie
have to
about
look it up to see
relationships.
what it is that I know
people
him from. I mean,
touring in another
I also
country.
probably just know him because
And
he's
Ciaran
been in the
Culkin
Hollywood,
has
like, Kieran Culkin
Kieran
spotlight for a
Culkin is
long
depressed.
time, and you know
He's
he's
married
married
to
to
Jesse
someone super
Eisenberg's
famous.
his
Yeah, he's from a
cousin.
super famous
And,
family, and
just kind of
I mean,
Jesse
I just, like-
Eisenberg neurotic.
I like that stuff.
Yep.
So I read about it. You know?
You know who else was considered? Christopher Reeve.
Hollywood
Really?
got its groove back. The big picture.
Before
$206.3 million haul, the best
That's what's so cool
Thanksgiving
about being a
frame
producer.
since
Like,
213's
fuck all
Hunger
these
Games
guys, I'll
Catching
do it.
Fire.
It's hard to imagine
The Glick
anyone
combo
else.
of Wicked
I mean,
and Gladiator
wow, the
2
Christmas lights just
proves
came on. It's hard to
that counter
imagine
programming still
anyone.
works magic.
I just really like
With Mona
seeing him.
2, which
Like you were
Louisa
saying
can't wait
earlier,
to see.
when he
Hitting
first appeared
theaters next week,
on
the holiday box
at the
office
top of that
season
mountain.
is looking
I was like,
merrier
yep,
than Santa's Workshop.
do this
But
whole
now
movie.
Yeah, when he
it
just
looks
slipped
like
out, you
things
can't
are
see his
shaking
face.
up on
Yep.
Europe.
He's wearing that
Europe's
hat.
television
He has the water
sets.
bag slung over his shoulder.
There's all of
and
these,
it's just totally- it's all shadow.
It's like it's
European
perfect, and like the
production
outfit, the look,
companies
he
and
like he
studios
has
that are
Yeah, his
going, like
outfit,
everything is
pissing
just
themselves off.
that was
going out
really-
of
that was
business.
very
This is
well
like
done.
a
modern day
rapidly
swashbuckler.
expanding.
Yeah.
Did you read any of this?
I
Kinda
did
got
read
the
it.
Indiana
It didn't
Jones
really
vibes.
honestly
Yeah,
make very
big
much
time,
sense to
big
me.
time.
There was a lot of like back and
That was
forth
my
and
first
kind of like
thought.
arguing.
And-
I was like, here's
Yeah,
Indiana
like
Jones
a
to
lot
save
of
the day,
these
and it
companies
isn't
I
his
haven't
movie.
heard of or I haven't seen
remember
enough
the,
of being involved
right
in
when she
U.S.
finished
productions.
her
And
book,
no
at the
offense to
beginning,
anyone
like
who's
the
listening, if
opening
we're
sequence
getting
when she
anybody in
finishes her
Europe,
book and
but
she's,
Yes.
we don't
having
see a ton of
glass
that kind of
Yeah,
product.
at her
So,
computer.
yeah,
no,
you
we
can't-
really
you
don't.
can't
You
Yeah.
really have to search it
No,
out.
that's
So when
right. That's
Kirk-
right.
When Michael Douglas steps out into the,
I didn't know this. Media One,
shadow,
French
like,
production
oh my
house
God,
that
that's-
owns Brad Pitt's
that's the
Plan B,
poster.
Yeah, right.
and 84 other
yeah, that was
production
really funny.
companies is reportedly
Your,
shopping itself
regarding
to buyers. Talk about fish upon fish upon
Veracruz,
fish.
Mexico,
Bought up by somebody
Florida,
even
San
bigger. How
Juan,
many
Del-
people?
About that, but when I watch
Fort,
movies,
you
I
said?
pay attention to
Oh,
that detail,
yeah.
and
Fort
I've seen a
San Juan,
lot of names go
Alaska,
through and come
the
by, and I always think like,
Ocampo, Mexico,
Oh,
and Snow Canyon, Utah.
well, one, how many more can there be, and
was
how many
that?
have I seen already? Because I feel like every movie has different
Scene where oh, you know where that was?
production
Remember when I said
houses
they don't
or
have pine trees in
companies.
Colombia?
like.
I bet you that's
There's
where it
some
was.
that are
Yeah, I
really
do,
Big
yep,
and like
That's
I
a
wanna
good-
say
yeah.
real
That's totally
popular,
where it
like
was.
that you see come up over and over
the scene
again,
where
sort
Turner and
of.
Douglas
But then there are
get
also
separated on
ones that like
opposite
you just
banks
see
of the
one.
Whitewater River.
You
with
see
You
him
just
one
see
time.
one time, yeah.
Right.
Rio
And then and I feel like that's like
Antigua, near the town
hundreds.
of
Yeah,
Like-
or if they, sometimes they just people.
Comal-
If someone is getting a movie made,
Comolco,
that's part of the deal. Is like you have to
Comolco,
use,
oh.
or you have to have my
Yeah.
production company
That's
logo.
true. I do think about that a
Turner
lot
later
too.
said
Yeah.
the film's production.
It's
had
part of the
terrible
script, or
arguments
it's part of
with
the
Roberts and Megas doing romancing.
the
He's a
writer.
film
They
school
make their
grad,
own, or
fascinated to do
they have a
the
team of
ridiculous
writers or a
part.
couple of guys
I
who
watched
put something
her as the
together.
most-
Really?
Yeah,
It's
studio
like,
insiders
crazy.
expected romancing the Stones
Main
to
Street
flop.
movies, and they do one, maybe two movies.
After viewing a rough cut of the film,
And
the
that might be
producers
what
of the
this
then
is. Maybe they own
underdeveloped
84 other
Cocoon
production
fired
companies,
Zemeckis
but
as director of that
by
film.
owning that
However,
just means they get famous,
became
not
a surprise hit. in
make the
20th Century
movie
Fox's
or
only
into
big hit
development hell.
worldwide,
That's
becoming
why,
the
you know, you
sixth
can.
highest grossing
That's the
film
thing
of
about
84.
Hollywood is you can write a.
Zemeckis later stated
If you're
that
trying
the
to go through the
success of
studio system,
romancing,
you can write
allowed him to
a
make
script,
Back to the
and it can
Future
just
in
circulate for
85.
years and years and
Right
years.
before anything even happens.
And then
I'd go into the critical response, but
there are people who just make their
upon the
living
releasing of Romancing the
writing
Stones,
scripts that get bought
Time
but never
magazine
made.
called the film a distaff.
That's the crazy thing about Hollywood. Like,
Raiders.
you can meet
ripoff.
somebody who's making like
I didn't
crazy
think so.
money, like $100,000, couple $100,000 a year. What have you written?
I didn't
I
think
write
so. I
scripts
thought it
not
was
to
a
get
fun
made.
movie.
Yeah, I
what?
agree.
Like
That's
that.
true. That must happen all the time.
I'm telling you, there's people who make their living
Yeah, there's
doing
no way
that.
those pine trees were down
Better
there.
than ours.
No,
Yeah.
no way.
They were going to look for the treasure.
Let's see. Canal Plus is eyeing a splashy $8.4
What do you
billion
dig on now?
London
I was
IPO.
just looking at Robert's and
BBC Studios. You heard about this? BBC Studios
Go ahead.
keeps taking hits.
Well, I went back now, but
I think we talked about this on the last.
No, I just know that he's like
dailies that
he-
BBC
he's a big name in movies and
was slashing
I was just
jobs.
Curious about. Yeah, that does sound familiar. My memory's really bad. About what have
Your
I
what?
seen?
No,
My
we
memory's
we
really
just
bad.
touched on it. We
Or
don't
had
watch
a hand in.
Fremantle, the
Aside
producer
from,
of Got Talent, like
Forrest Gump.
London's Got Talent, or Too Hot to Handle
Well, I
is
never saw
hunting for a
Contact.
merger partner and spending $270 million on
You did
acquisitions.
Contact with Jodie Foster.
Yeah, he was a producer.
So why is everyone scrambling? That's what's going on. Everybody's scrambling. Some are getting bigger. Some are losing market share. And,
Well, I think these are
and
upcoming.
dumping
I think we
assets.
talked about this. Steel Soldiers.
Europe's once mighty
Didn't
TV
that sound
studios
familiar?
are facing a perfect storm. The end of
Okay,
streaming's
well, moving
golden
on, 'cause that's not
age
what I'm supposed
means
to be looking at.
less money flowing
the
from
producer on
commissioners.
this movie called Welcome
Ad
to
markets are
Marlin.
weak
Do you know that movie?
across the continent, and
With
instead
Steve
of
Carell.
creating the next Downtown
No,
Abbey,
never saw it.
So that movie.
pardon me, I'm sorry, Downton,
A friend corrected me, like, excuse me, and I was like, oh, so, I
guy
don't know.
are reduced
fought in
to
the
filming
war, and it
American
really messed
shows
him up, and he
for
suffers
hire.
from
The results?
PTSD, and he
A wave of
builds, like,
mergers, sales, and deals as companies try to adapt and cash out.
not a
So
village,
it's
but,
chaos,
like
but that's
the things that
that's
he
movies
thinks
and
and
TV.
sees in his mind from like his days in the war.
the American
He
angle.
builds-
Hollywood's
Heard
already
about this.
planted
He,
deep
like,
roots
builds
in
it
Europe,
in his
especially in the
backyard,
UK.
and
Now
he, like,
mid-sized
and
U.S.
it's, like,
companies
really
are
serious.
eyeing
Like diagram-
acquisitions,
not
hungry,
diagram-
hungry for those
Yeah.
sweet tax
Yeah.
breaks
And it was really
and lower
interesting.
costs. I didn't know there were big
I
tax
think
breaks
I
out of
saw
Europe.
a,
I didn't either. I had no idea.
preview about
Because
this.
I know
Yeah, it was really interesting.
I think the
Just very,
Carolinas
like,
have pretty good
very
ones,
different for
and
me to watch, but I
Louisiana.
past, like
Maybe.
the
Yeah.
different life.
Michigan
this
used to
person
for a
lives.
while.
We did for a while. We
you
had a
just
we
And then
had-
it
watch
stopped.
for
Yeah, and then
who
it just
he
came
is
to
and what he's
like
doing.
an
I was
instant
so
halt.
excited when that whole
So was I.
happened. That was
Like,
so exciting.
My
I
good
felt for this
friend
guy, like,
Ryan
I don't
Hill.
have anything close
Shout out to
related
Ryan Hill.
to what he was going through.
Does extras casting for
But it was
just
very
random
well done.
movie
Very
productions.
That's when he made.
He currently lives in Florida, but
I think so, yeah, and like things
lived
in
in
his
Michigan
backyard
with
and,
me
like,
for many,
it
many
was
years.
very real. That's, I
And,
guess, what I was looking to say. Is it was very.
I remember
real.
I
It
lived in
wasn't just, like,
Chicago when the tax
silly,
incentive
you know,
came through, and
elementary
there were
school
big productions.
Yeah.
I told you
No,
I'd
it was,
drive
like,
home
yeah, and
from
he would go to
Chicago
the
every
store,
weekend,
and
park your
everybody
crew.
knew who he
It
was,
a ton
and
of
he
fun.
would go.
But
He
there
would go
was
to the store to buy.
worked on two
items
movies that were financed
for
by a
his,
couple of Russian
creations. and
like
everybody
gazillionaires,
knew.
Oh, really?
and
That's
they
one
were
we might
they were
wanna put on
actual
the list.
movies,
Do that.
That's so cool.
and I don't think they.
Yeah,
I
before
don't even think they
producing
went to
credits,
video. I
but
don't know how they got
with
released, but you can't.
Other.
I've asked him like, where
Those are all
can I
producing, too.
view this? And he's like, it's not. You can't find it anywhere.
More of the same.
Because I grew up knowing
But,
him as a director.
But you
Yeah.
helped him work on it.
Yeah, I helped him work on that Red Dawn also when they remade Red Dawn with Hemsworth.
Oh wait, here we
I
go.
think
Oh,
it was
wow.
Liam,
Okay.
Liam Hemsworth, and we just
Oh, it
did.
looks like
We also
He was a
went to.
producer
There
and
was one
director
time
on
I
a lot of
came home
things.
and we went. There was
Go ahead.
There was a
I'm trying to find some things
big,
that I know.
big soundstage that was quote unquote opening, and this.
He directed.
I remember seeing
Allied.
this. The guy who owned it
With-
walking around. He had on these pink suede shoes, big heavy guy. I don't know where he got his money from, but he was taking advantage of this.
Her name is
The
Fred.
Michigan
Oh,
tax break.
yeah, I know
and
who
he
that
bought-
is.
there
Brad
was-
Pitt.
I mean, there was models
Oh, he
walking
did that?
around.
Like, these
and
are all
wannabe
newer stuff.
actors.
Yeah,
and
that's very
famous
new. That's
people.
true. Okay,
There was
okay.
no production
Let me get
going
back down
on,
to
but this guy bought
Back
this.
to the Future.
I
Like
was-
you
I don't know
said.
if it was
Who's Gonna
Pontiac
Catch a Rabbit.
or where it
Rented
was. I want to say it was around Pontiac,
One of the
like
first thing was The
multi-story
Lift. Have you
warehouse
seen or
type
heard of this
thing.
movie?
It was like
A
concrete
Field of
was
Honor.
built
Don't
around
hold
the
your hand, used cars,
was
and
part of the
everything's stone.
structure of it. It was just giant. It was like a big airplane hangar, and it had
These are
a
the
couple
rating.
different sections to it.
Kurt,
But
isn't that Kurt?
like if you go to a studio on the lots in
Jack
LA, like
Warden?
Paramount or Warner Brothers,
See.
there's multiple large. You've seen that they look like aircraft hangar
Yeah,
sound stages. This was like trying to be that, but it didn't have any productions in
maybe
it.
you've seen
It
that
didn't.
movie?
It like
No,
it got
it's
enough
80.
money
Wow, that is
to
old.
get 2/3 built.
I was 3 years
And
old. There's
people
no way
were
I'd
walking
seen it.
around trying to find somebody who was putting some tax breaks were stopping. And so, yeah, with the pink shoes.
In any rate,
To do with the
know
anticipation
his
that a
name.
bunch
I
of
know he
movies were
did,
going to come through, and it just ended.
Christmas movie. The Polar Express.
I remember my
Oh,
old
yeah,
man
that's
sent
right.
me a
Well, yeah, 'cause
clipping
he's a big
of
collaborator with.
the
Tom
Detroit
Hanks?
News
Tom Hanks,
ran this article. You know how they do those diagrams,
I can't believe that the
Of,
screenwriter
you know,
died.
especially when
Oh,
some kind of
Castaway.
real estate development's
Yeah.
going
Oh,
to
yeah,
happen.
yeah, yeah,
there was
yeah.
a proposed movie studio that was going
As
to go
far as
in.
characters,
I don't know if
Jack
it was
Colton
that,
is
the
a
one I was
brash,
just
rugged
talking about, or if
American
it was something on
bird
the
hunter.
edge of Ann
Arbor,
Arbor.
Columbia, who assists
'Cause there was
Joan
this
on
big
her
plot of
adventure.
land that they were
Hopes to
saying
save
would,
up for a sailboat. That was
Paramount's
the other
going
thing.
to
Wants to
or
he
Universal
initially
is
comes
gonna-
across as like
they're going to
a guy who's gonna
co-finance
take
it,
advantage
and
of her,
nothing
but he
happened.
has
Like it just,
aspirations.
it was never discussed
I
again.
like how he said at one point. Kathleen
And whenever
Turner
I
asked him
see
if he
stuff
was
like
always into
that,
birds, and he's like, no, no.
even when I was selling
I was into
print,
shortcuts. I'm like, oh,
that's just I was
guy's
when
great,
I
but
was
he
young,
doesn't-
I would
he
think
doesn't
that
want a
that's how the
regular
movie
job.
business is. It's this chaotic
Kathleen
thing that
Turner,
like
Joan
99% of the time nothing happens, and 1% of the time lightning strikes.
Something, yeah.
But
Long
quite
Stan
honestly,
fall
that's a
in love
lot
with
of
man
business,
resembles
regardless
Ralph,
if you're into
antiquity
movies or
smuggler
not.
from
Like
Queen, through the
people
jungles
will
and
pitch
hopes of
projects
acquiring
and
a map.
somebody couple's going to go
Zach
somewhere
Norma.
and nothing
I love
happens.
this guy.
I-
Ira.
when I read these things about
Ralph's cousin and
shit
partner,
doesn't
Ryan,
mean anything
he
until
has an
it
affinity
does.
for crocodiles.
If you're employed by any of these companies and you get
He hangs his own
cut loose,
his
your
own
future is
cousin out to
impacted. I
dry.
feel for you, but
Jump, Ralph! Jump!
that's
Send the
that's
boat
Hollywood.
back.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Wolves
I know. I
2
remember
got
watching that
halted,
and
which is a
thinking,
bummer
what
because
is
I
going
wanted to
on
watch
here?
that with you. I think that would have been great.
Alfonso
I'm sure it is
Arrau
good, but
as
we don't have
Juan,
Apple
the
TV
Bellmaker
Plus.
Man, implied to be a drug
And,
smuggler who happens to be a huge fan of Jones'
Director
work.
John
Colton
Watts
and
walked away
Wilder.
from playing George Clooney,
were
Brad
Joan-
Pitt
He's like,
sequel.
"Come
I'm
in,
wondering who
welcome."
owns that, because if they own it,
He's like,
if Pitt and Clooney
this is the
own it,
Juanita whose books I read to you
if
on
Clooney and
Sundays
Pitt own it,
after church.
I'm wondering if they can move
Miguel
production houses.
Ojeda
Oh, I don't know. I
as
don't know
Colonel
how that
Zolo.
works.
I don't know how their
And also,
particular
is this a
killer
sequel?
and
This is
heartless
there was
deputy
one
commander.
already.
Yeah, they
made
already
that we
made
didn't
one.
watch.
I'm just saying if
After
Clooney
failing
and
to
Pitt
obtain the
own
map
it,
from Joan in New York,
maybe
he
they don't
follows
need
her
that
to
production
Columbia
house.
in pursuit.
True. I don't know.
But everybody is saying that
your
it,
buddy Holland Taylor is in this.
It's-
as
Didn't
the
do so well.
publisher.
really.
Mary Ellen
No, I thought
Trainor.
that's what you were saying
That's who.
earlier.
The
No, they're
sister
just not gonna. They're not
Okay.
gonna
She
make part
always
two.
put Mary Ellen Trainor has. She was in so many movies in like just
Yeah, I
countless
no longer
movies in
trust
the
him as a
80s.
creative partner. He already got paid to do part 2, and he's not doing it.
Oh,
Wow.
Yeah, I
Well,
love
lucky and
this
nice for
movie.
him.
It's
Yeah.
like-
Look at this
honestly,
Making
I've probably
Barbies
seen it
record
30
breaking
times. I
campaign
could say
look
it 30
tame.
more.
Talked about that. The Arc de Triomphe.
but again,
got,
this is my pick, so-
multicolored for.
beautiful.
Isn't that great?
I mean, that's
and-
really
What else-
like,
do we have anything else
like
on the movie?
wow.
or-
That's just like, no, not really.
I was going
like
to
the
do
far
the
reaches.
recipe.
Yeah. Let me see what else.
You should look up the Empire State Building and see what they did because they had to have done something.
You would think, like,
I mean, in New York,
doesn't that and the Arc
like,
de Triomphe and
Slow day at market
the
today.
Empire State, they
2
kind
days
of
after Thanksgiving.
compete with
Freezing
marketing.
It look beautiful.
And
We'll close it on here.
When he says freezing, he doesn't mean just like 32 degrees. He means like 20
tell me
degrees
if you saw
snowing
this. William H.
and
Macy,
windy.
John
It
Thomas
was
Jane,
awful.
and Army Hammer.
the
You
recipe
did see
for the
that.
week.
I did.
Everybody
see that,
was
and I
talking
clicked
about
on
how
it
he's-
and looked it up because
did?
I was like, yeah,
Meat
because,
eaters out there,
because
listen up.
He got totally
Vegetarians,
thrown
if
out of
there's
Hollywood
any
for
of you,
enjoying the taste of the
keep
flesh.
on scrolling
Yeah,
because
several
this is
years
not
ago,
for you.
like
honey garlic
And
glazed
now
corned
he's
beef.
apparently he was like homeless or he was
Okay,
living
so
on his
the,
family's allowance or something.
Glaze is going to garlic mince, 2 tablespoons of
joins Thomas
balsamic
Jane Army
vinegar,
Hammer for
half tablespoon
Frontier Crucible,
half
a
teaspoon
Western
kosher salt, half teaspoon
filming
ground
I didn't
Arizona.
read
pepper, and
details
quarter
beyond his
teaspoon
name.
ground ginger. Those are
You know how I feel
approximates.
about
Do
that.
whatever you like.
That was enough for me. That's all I needed.
I'm
Preheat
really
to
curious to
350.
see if he
Remove the
recovers for
corned
that.
beef
He's, I
from
think
the
he's
bag
tried to
and drain
humanize
it.
himself because he's been on his own
Place,
podcast talking with his
in a
crazy
9 by
religious
13
mother.
inch baking pan,
And
but,
all
whatever
the
you have
comments
on
I saw in the
pour
conversations
water
around
over the
his
meat to
chats with
fully
his
cover
mother
it.
is like, oh God, no wonder he's so
Cover
fucked
the
up. She's
pan
nuts.
tightly.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if
That's what he
if
said.
maybe that kind of
In your
humanized
oven,
him and it
place
made
it
somebody
on the
with
top cookie sheet,
with a
bake for about
production
3
company say, all
hours, so
right,
you're gonna have to invest
we'll
some
give him
time
another
in this
shot.
one. Not crumble,
But-
but
I mean, lucky for him because a lot of people,
drain the
things like
water
this have
and
happened
set
to
the
them in
meat
Hollywood
aside.
and they haven't
Raise
recovered.
the oven
Yeah,
temperature to
so I
400.
can't like.
Meanwhile,
I don't know
preparing
Army
the
Hammer.
glaze, you're
I
going
thought
to
he was pretty
combine
decent
all the
actress.
glaze ingredients into
No,
a
that's
small
good.
bowl whisk.
We covered it. All right,
Whisk it together.
I already gave you
Pour
one
it over the
recipe
meat,
today,
covering it
so
fully and allowing it to drip
I
down
want
the
to find one
sides.
that's more of a banger. So
Return
more
the
next-
glazed meat uncovered to the oven. Bake it for 20 minutes, then remove from the oven and baste by spooning the sauce back over the meat. Bake for an additional 10. I guess this is a thing with roast beef. I don't make a lot of roast beef, but apparently it's a 3-part thing. So longest period of time you have it in the oven is before you put the glaze on. Make the glaze, pour it over it, put it back in the oven, and then uncover, and then again back in the oven for 10 minutes. Notes: plan ahead. You can freeze the meat after baking it in water. Defrost and glaze fresh before serving for the best results. I love corned beef, but I so rarely get. The only time I usually get it is with what do you call those? What do you call that? Like a giant corned beef sandwich.
Reuben?
A Reuben. I don't know how that escaped me. It's one of my favorite sandwiches.
It's okay. I don't know how I knew that, but
Yeah, you never eat meat. You wouldn't eat corned beef if somebody put a gun to your head.
That was a miracle if that came to me. I'm very impressed with myself, patting myself on the back.
What else we got? Nothing?
A few things.
Oh, here are.
Random. Well, a
All right.
couple, let's just
I'm
say.
listening.
So, we were looking at Robert Zemeckis'
Yeah.
credits and things. In the future sometime, he's directing and probably producing a movie called The King. It's about the Hawaiian king Kamehameha. Do you know
Oh,
this
really?
one?
Yeah, I know Kamehameha.
Okay. And Dwayne
Is
The
a
Rock
submarine
Johnson
that's-
is watch that. I don't know what it's gonna be about, but it's cool.
Kamehameha.
I just remember his name and like statues and things all over Hawaii when I went.
Yeah.
And then also, he was married, Robert Zemeckis, to Mary Ellen Trainor for 20 years.
He was?
Yeah, and they have a child together.
Oh, wow. I didn't say. I swear to God, Hollywood is so incestuous. And
I can't believe that. And 20 whole years.
And every time we talk, like there's always some, like, relationship that's mind-blowing about, like, just people cross paths and everybody knows everybody else. But, yeah, no wonder she was in everything. She was in Action Jackson for a hot second. She was in this. She was in Forrest Gump, another Zemeckis movie. That totally makes sense now.
Mm-hmm. Isn't that cool, though? I mean, that's like, wow. I love those kind of things.
You know who we should do a sidebar on is that guy on Instagram who I've showed you, the guy with the headband. I can't remember his name, but he will go through a piece of Hollywood history and say who this person knows or who they were a roommate with.
Oh, yeah.
You know who I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And that person later went on to become Prince or Sting or like, you know, so-and-so used to be the babysit for Natalie Wood's first kid and you know, grew up to be Daft Punk or whatever. That guy, I'm sure has an interesting story. I don't know how he digs all this stuff up, but he knows every relationship in Hollywood.
I know all of it's very interesting. Very interesting.
I'm trying to think here if we have anything else outstanding before. I think we're going to do a Dailies next, because we haven't done one of those in a while.
Okay.
And for whatever reason, it's closing out with an error.
Oh, is that like a sign it's time to stop for a minute? Oh, you can't do anything?
No. And here we go.
But now, okay.